like we're Hollywood, man.
Yeah, man, this is so professional.
Exactly.
Because the guy clapped. PRI 2022. We're here in the Total Seal booth. One of the best episodes we've ever had was the hydrogen engine.
Oh, yes.
Arrington, Mike Copeland is here. That episode blew people's mind, and now you are back with an update, if you will.
Absolutely. A lot of updates, actually. So a lot going on. We've come so far in a year. It's almost mind-boggling how much we've accomplished and how far we are down this path.
So it's cool to see that there's real progress, right? It's not like we were talking a minute ago, hypothesis. I mean, there's all these people that have their YouTube videos and stuff about hydrogen. Why is this like, that's all theory. This guy's doing it. Like, not just, we were hanging on the dyno, we had it at SEMA. You raced it, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Raced the pickup with a supercharged LS in it. We were the first ever hydrogen burning ICE vehicle to compete in a race series in North America.
How awesome is that?
Yeah, no, that's the greatest. That's the greatest.
This is incredible.
Yeah, and the truck performed flawless.
Yeah.
I mean, we ultimately ran out of hydrogen. I take the blame for that because, but we did get over 3 hours of basically wide open throttle on 5.3 kilograms of hydrogen.
What?
Yeah. So we recorded all the data. We got all the data. We've been reviewing it and looking at it. Fortunately, with the controllers we're using, we can program them and they'll just save every throttle input, every fuel injector pulse width, every timing control, every piece of the data we can program and save.
All right. So Joe, I want to get a little bit technical just for a second.
Do it.
Can I?
Yes.
Okay. So, as Mike probably knows where I'm going with this, there are a lot of people that again have their theories about hydrogen and what the weaknesses are.
Sure.
One of them is water, because combustion is going to make a lot of water, and people are like, well, you're going to get so much water in the oil that you're going to have all these issues. So
none. Because we control the fuel mixture, we've done a lot of development,
right?
And we control the fuel mixtures. If you fire my truck up cold, tailpipes turn down to the ground, you'll get a circle, right?
Yep.
And as the engine comes with temperature, all of that goes away because the exhaust temperature evaporates the moisture. It'll actually dry the circles up off of the ground as it sits there and idles.
But even in the engine itself, in the crankcase,
no, we control the mixtures to the point and the fuel ratios that we're running, all of that
temperature up.
Right, and then with just the ratios we run under. I mean, we're making 500 horsepower with the truck, and we're injector limited, so we're shutting it down at like 5,700 RPM, and we're doing all of these different things just because we don't have big enough injectors yet.
To make more power.
Right. So, but once we get that, and they're coming. I mean, we're working hard at it, and so, but to use those injectors, the water, we get the oil. To this point, we've been pulling oil and running samples and doing all that stuff. It looks like the day we poured it in.
Yeah, I heard that from the podcast you did with STLE.
Yeah.
I hooked them up with my tribology buddies, right? And they're all fascinated.
Yeah.
But I love the idea that by using the tuning of the engine, you can bring the oil temperature up, because once you hit 212 degrees Fahrenheit by water,
there
it's
you go.
Vapor.
Yep.
So it's no more concern. You're able to do that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we just mentioned this morning is you're not seeing a problem with hydrogen buildup in the crankcase itself.
No,
and I know that's been a concern that some of the people that have been running some engines, they see this buildup of hydrogen in the crankcase. Obviously, you must have got some pretty good ring seal or something going on.
We do, yeah. I mean, we're using yours, right? But we're not using your high-end race stuff in it, right?
No, right? It's not a gapless ring.
No,
it's not something crazy. It's an AP ring set.
It's an AP ring set. So we're using those in it, and I want to do that intentionally, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, as we go forward with this in the future, the goal is going to be to do the minimal amount that you have to do to an engine to make it successfully run on hydrogen. My new program that we debuted at SEMA, the direct injection, where we do that with hydrogen. We have a Gen 3 Coyote Ford 5-liter. Built a 64 Falcon to put it in. And so we inject the hydrogen direct into the cylinder.
Yep.
And now those have a port fuel injection system too. So we've changed the port fuel injection system to water. And now we finite control the temperature and the burn rate of the hydrogen by intermixing a very minuscule amount of water. And we're at this point seeing about 10 10% horsepower increase on hydrogen using the water over gasoline.
Because you can cool the temperature so you can get
control
more.
it. Yeah. We control it with fuel mixture in the port injected systems, but in this direct injection with the water, we're able to control it that way.
How cool is that?
Yeah, no, it's super exciting.
I mean, that's amazing.
Well, the rev of the engine gets to stay. All of these things
All of
that
that.
we love gets to
The
stay.
sound, right?
Yeah,
'Cause that's the
sound
key.
gets to stay.
So we were racing at Optima, right, at SEMA, and Holly was good enough to give me their sponsor spot, and a friend of mine drove.
Okay.
He had never driven the truck till we got to Vegas.
Really?
Right? I mean, and the truck's not built to race.
Okay, yeah, right.
This is my wife's truck. This is a cruiser, right? It's got a bench seat. It's got 3-point seat belts. It's not a race car, right?
Yeah.
But he's out there running it, right? He's a great driver. And he got into a corner, and he told me beforehand, he said, I had hundreds of people crawling all under the truck trying to find a gas tank. He said, nobody believes that we're on hydrogen. But we are. And there's no fuel tank, there's no gasoline, it's all hydrogen.
Mm-hmm.
So he got into one corner a little hot in the speed stop, and the tail kicked out on the truck. So he said, I figured, what the heck, and I just matted the throttle. So he spun a full 360, smoking the tires in one of his speed stop runs. It came out in it. He said the truck lined up perfect at the exit, and I never lifted. I just drove out the exit, smoking the tires.
It's awesome.
So yeah, it's I mean, we had a phenomenal SEMA. You know, the truck, the calibrations. You know, I'm from the OE world, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we did all those calibration events and all the. We're probably at a, by OE level standard, we're probably at a 25% calibration level in the way that the OE would do it. I mean, we're running, we're driving, we're doing all those things. There's still opportunity. We're still learning.
A lot you can refine still.
Yeah, there's still a lot of opportunity there, right? But to be able to go there and compete in the truck and do such a great job. My guy that drove for me, Aaron Overly, is the guy that drove for me, and I had told him before we were going to restrict the number of runs to try and save some hydrogen so that we could do, run more time on the road course. And he's a racer, great driver.
Yeah.
And he was getting so much faster every autocross lap. He never stopped. So we were tracking the time, and we get done, and he's like, I'm just under 3 hours right now. I'm like, wow. At 5.3 kilograms, everybody says that's impossible too, right?
Right.
You can't make power. I mean, I've heard it all. They blow up like the Hindenburg.
Yeah.
But anyway, I couldn't.
You're like a rolling mythbuster, right? You know that, right? Like your whole thing is like a mythbuster episode of like everybody's you can't do that. It's not this. Like really?
Yeah.
Tell that to that engine over there.
Yeah. You want to drive it to lunch?
Right.
Yeah, I was talking to one of your guys earlier, and he's asking about the truck. He wants to come up and see it, and I said, "Well, if the weather's good, I'll let you drive it." And he's like, "What?"
Oh God, yeah.
It's. If I didn't tell you it was hydrogen, we have an extended crank time, and we do that intentionally because of the small injectors. But it's in the computer. It's a control we just shut off. But anyway, without that, if I didn't tell you it was hydrogen, you wouldn't know. It sounds just like gasoline. It drives just like gasoline. It accelerates like gasoline. It'll burn tires. Like if you want to, rev it up a little bit, snap the clutch. It's tire smoke avenue.
So one of the things related to that is like crazy, but it's not like gasoline or diesel.
No.
Is you said there's no soot.
None
In the oil. There's no carbon in the fuel. There's no soot to get in the oil. The oil basically looks brand new.
Yep.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. Yeah, we're actually getting ready to do some testing. One of the largest oil, we've been testing oil as we go along.
Sure. Yeah.
And but one of the largest oil additive manufacturers in the world has contacted me. They want to buy an engine running on hydrogen, and they're going to run their durability schedules, which are 4 to 60 hours.
Yep.
And so, or 4 to 600 hours, sorry. And so they're going to do all of that work, but they want to buy an engine from me to do that. And they're doing it to develop and to test, and it's a big deal to run 600 hours on a dyno.
Oh, yes,
right?
sir. Yep.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of commitment.
Yep.
And that's what they do. And when they saw first, we're the only people in the world that have them out running, right? And it's an LS engine, which they have a tremendous amount of experience with.
Yeah, because the G-Mod test from GM is an LS engine, so it can plug right into an existing
so now you can lay it right over the data.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, we think it's, just our rough guesses right now, we're thinking it's going to be at least a 50,000 mile oil change schedule.
Yeah. Well, see, what's great about that is having one of those additive companies.
Yeah.
Because most people don't realize that there's all these brands of oil, but there's only 4 companies that make the additive packages.
There you go.
And they deal with every oil company on the planet. That's a huge milestone for you and what you're doing with this concept.
Sure.
To get one of them to invest in that.
Yeah.
Dude, that's massive,
Yeah.
Mike. That's so.
And it's a big chunk of money.
Oh, I bet. Yes. It's a big commitment.
Yeah, it is, right? But and it's good for them. It's good for me.
Right. It's a great thing. Great thing.
We're working on a program. I have an order for 200 engines for a non-automotive application, and it's going to be crucial to know that information.
Yep.
And I've worked with additive companies before, and these guys are super on top of it. They're one of the best in the world, and they understand and they want to learn from it, and they want to make sure that the oils that they offer, they're getting all the requests from the OEs and from everybody else.
Yeah.
What are we going to have to do?
Yeah.
Right? How do we do this?
Well, out in the public, everything's EV.
Yeah.
On the back end engineering side, everyone's talking about hydrogen.
Yep. Yeah. I've been having a lot of those conversations. I did Fox News last week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we did an 11-minute video with Fox News that's out on their website. You can just find it under Auto Performance. And so anyway, that's worldwide. Right?
Yeah, that's huge,
So, and I got people from all over the world contacting me, all kinds of companies wanting to be involved, wanting to buy engines, wanting to do technology, want all of those things, right? But and we talk about hydrogen, and there's a huge, if you watch the news and everything else, it's all electric.
Yes.
Did you know in the infrastructure bill that recently passed, there's $7 billion to build 8 to 10 hydrogen manufacturing centers across the United States?
Didn't know that, but that's good to know, though.
Yeah, that's great news.
Yeah, I mean there's
They're not all in one basket,
and they're smart enough not to do that.
Which
right?
that's hardening right there.
It is crucial.
Because what if the EV is the laser disc of transportation, right? Oh, this is going to be a great idea. Oops, no, nobody wants to do that.
I think electric has there's places it's the answer, right? But there's a lot of places it's not.
Yes.
And I'm in the last year.
You're not the only one that thinks that.
Right.
I mean, when I was at an alternative fuels EV engineering conference last week, and that's what people were saying that, hey, we've looked at it.
Yeah.
There's places where electric battery just won't work.
Right.
We have to have something that's zero emissions to make this go, and hydrogen is the answer in many applications.
Yep. Yeah. Well, in our case, we're going to the SEMA garage next month, the new Detroit facility, and we're running our emission certification tests on the truck.
That'd be another giant milestone.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And then because they're CARB approved, we're submitting that data to CARB.
Right.
So it's almost mind-boggling how fast and how far we've come.
I mean, we talked in January, I think, or February, and it's from now to here, it's not even been a year yet, and this is huge accomplishments.
Yeah, we've come so far, and really proud of my team and everybody that's supporting us and everything we're doing. And
it just goes to show the racers' mentality. When you put a bunch of racers fixed on a problem, boy, they will come up with solutions and they'll make something happen.
Yeah, and I always say, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm fortunate I can hold a board of directors meeting in a single seat outhouse.
Yeah.
It's my money, my wife's money and mine, and we make those decisions, and we've invested heavily to get where we are, and we're working really hard to get there. Fortunately, I have some really smart people that I work with and help support. I don't have all the answers, right? But there were a number of issues people have dealt with in the past and have found and couldn't solve for whatever reason. And there were about a dozen that we put together when we first started down this path.
Yeah.
And we are testing on the last issue next week.
Really?
Yeah. Other than that, everybody said it was impossible to make power. You can't get range. You can't this. You can't that. Right? My 5.3 kilogram tank in the truck refills in 5 minutes.
That's fantastic.
So there was this push. For some reason, there's this fantasy number of 300 miles of range, right?
Yeah.
And people, the experts, we talked about them earlier,
Yep.
they've told me I'll never get 300 miles. And I said, well, I'll take mine, you take your electric vehicle, and let's say you get 300 miles, and I get 250 miles. So I'll get 250 miles, I'll stop, spend 5 minutes filling it, and then I'll see you at the 500 mile mark. How long is it going to take you to recharge that battery if you do get 300 miles?
Yeah.
To get to 500 miles.
To get to 500 miles.
20 minutes, if you can get to the charger.
That's if you can use a supercharger.
Right.
Right?
Which
and those are few and far in between. We did one of my neighbors, I have a place up on the sand dunes where I play with my little 1,000 horsepower Jeep. And
1,000 horsepower Jeep, yeah.
yeah. So, but one of the people across the street from me, they had a friend come up with their Tesla on Labor Day weekend, and they only have 110, and he plugged it in on the 110 charger, and 4 days later he was at about almost 50%. It can take up to 9 days on a one-day charger for recharging.
Wow, on 110.
On a 110, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine has a Mustang Mach-E, and he got caught in Detroit with like 1% battery life and was chasing around. And the closest charger he could get to, and he had just enough battery to get there, was a 110 charger. And he does posts on social media about the electric car, the pros and the cons,
Yeah.
right? And there are some pros, but anyway, he was on the charger for an hour and a half and picked up 1% in battery life. So he had to call a tow truck, a flatbed, to pick up his Mach-E, take it to the actual better charging station so that he could get it charged enough to get home.
And these kind of things can only be really figured out through the actual life experience of
You gotta
and
do
not
it.
to be like apocalyptic about it, but I live in Florida and we just had that big hurricane, right? So you've got all these people that are maybe trying to get out of an area, right? And they're trying to go. It's like, oh yeah, but you can only go X, and then they all stop.
Right.
And now a large group of people is in this area, like all trying to recharge at the same time, 20 minutes time. Like that's impractical.
Yeah.
That is impractical. And once it gets put to the test one time, they will realize. And so I think solutions like this are more practical, more real world. Like you said, there's a position for everything.
Right.
Like city traffic, right? Commuting from one side of the city to the other side of the city.
Right. Or inner city, right? If you're just going from your apartment
to the grocery store
or
back,
or to work.
That's a different thing. But for longer range transportation, making big power like we're doing for fun, I think you're onto something. And everyone is excited to just think about there's something other than batteries.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I told Lake this earlier. We were talking about it, and yesterday this came up in a conversation, and I don't think it's the way most people think about it, but this is a huge industry. There's all kinds of great companies here with really smart people, and they're doing some great things, right? But show me any other company in here that environmentally is working to a solution that's better than the OE.
Yeah, there's not. That I know of.
Right.
That I know of. Everybody strives to be as good as the OE is.
Yeah.
Right? That's why you test. That's why you go after EOs. That's why you do all these things. And what you're trying to do is prove that you're not worse.
Right.
Right?
As opposed to being way better.
Right. So, yep. It's it's coming. Whether it's me that actually gets it there or whoever it is, right? It's a definite opportunity. I mean, we've proven it works. I have a proof of concept.
Yes, exactly. That was the
drive
word in
the
my
truck,
head.
right?
You have delivered on proof of concept. You can't argue and say it's hypothetical, it's theoretical.
Yeah.
It's real.
It won't do this. It won't do that. Well, let's drive it to lunch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that.
Exactly.
Right? Excellent.
And that's massive. And we can't thank you enough for letting us be part of this, actually.
Hey, you and I have known each other a long time, right? I've used Total Seal. I mean, I've been building engines for 15 years, right? So I've used Total Seal in so many of them. When we got ready to build this engine based on the technology and on what we didn't know and what I had to do, I can't take a chance.
No.
So,
and the stainless top ring was the right material for the job, right?
Perfect, because we know we had the potential to create lots of heat, right? And we need to be able to deal with that, right? I've told you before, I ran a shorter rod so I could run a bigger piston. I did all of those things. I got oil squirters in the block. I did all that because I didn't know.
Right. Yeah, try to hedge your bets and stack the cards in your favor.
Yeah, I build race engines every day,
Yeah.
right? So I know what it takes to get durability with power. I know that I have the potential with hydrogen to make more cylinder temperature than I could ever make with gasoline.
Right.
People talk about, oh my God, you put 3 stages of nitrous in it. Yeah, try me now.
Yeah, hold my beer. Yeah, it's on a hold my beer moment right there. I like that
Look at
one.
this whole crew.
Oh my gosh! Oh, look who is
Look
it?
at that See and Freddy's deal. You weren't there.
No. So, hey everybody, Pat
Musey
Musey
just walked in.
Let's take a step.
you guys are
We're recording. Look, bend down a little bit so that you can see into this camera. Look, it's Pat Musey, but we're just getting ready to wrap up this one. What
Right,
did you
and we'll
say?
bring Pat in for another one.
Right,
Yeah.
you're here just in time for your interview. Stand right here, and we'll get to that momentarily. Did we finish up everything? Did you have anything else you wanted to drop out there on the audience? Because this is a topic that everybody was hot on.
Well, just let me share this.
Yep.
We're not done.
There you go.
We have a lot more in process, and 23 will be every bit as big, and we'll accomplish every bit or more in 23 than we did in 22.
Well, then you need to be sitting right here at the end of 23 to give us another update. We want to know what you accomplished in the next 12 months.
Yeah, you'll be impressed.
Cool. Can't wait to see.
Mike, great job. Tremendous stuff. Watch for it. More hidden horsepower from PRI to come.